Hello and welcome. My name is Mary and I'm the host of Prologues, a lifestyle podcast where each episode is like a digital journal entry detailing whatever it is I'm going through in life at the moment. I talk about my journey with mental health, relationships, wellness, beauty, personal development, and more. So join me every Monday morning for a reminder that we're all still figuring out life for the first time and you are still in the beginning of your personal story. Hello and welcome back to Prologues. We're back in the studio today. As you guys know, I spent most of the month of March traveling, so there were a lot of audio only episodes. And I hear you guys, we don't like audio only episodes. So we're back in Edinburgh, I'm back home, and I'm back in the studio. When I left Edinburgh, it was before British Daylight Savings Time, and I came back after British Daylight Savings Time, which is the same as it is in the US, just later on in the month. So now that I've come back, it's not getting dark in the evening until 8 p.m. I can't even tell you how nice and refreshing that is after such a long winter. It truly, truly feels like spring. Also, when I was in the States, I went to the Cherry Blossom Festival in DC and saw the cherry blossoms at the tidal basin, which is a yearly tradition for me. So that got me in the spring mood. The kickoff of my allergies got me in the spring mood. And now coming back when there's so much daylight has me feeling energized, refreshed, revitalized. I'm still a winter lover, but I'm not gonna lie. UK winter is much harsher than any winter I've ever experienced. So I am still a winter lover because I still love being cozy and I still love hibernating, but I truly am more excited for spring and summer right now than I've ever been in my life. I think knowing that it's not going to get super hot and I'm never going to be in like a sweaty, humid, boiling hot environment is also contributing to me being more of a summer appreciator than I ever have been. So that feels good. And if you're wondering why we're already having 8 p.m. sunsets right now, it's because in the summertime, because Scotland is so far north, the sun doesn't set until like 10:30 and it's still dusky and there's still light outside at like 11 p.m. In the height of summer, the sun also rises at around 4 a.m. And the way I describe it is that the winter solstice and the summer solstice are on the same days in the UK because we're in the northern hemisphere. Because we're so far north, the differences in the amount of daylight between summer and winter is much more extreme than it is in Virginia. So every day, there's a much more drastic difference in the amount of daylight because the length of time between winter and summer solstice is the same, but it feels like the sun is covering way more ground day to day. So it'll be, I don't know what it is in the States exactly, don't quote me on the numbers, but let's say that like sunset is 2 minutes later every day. In Edinburgh, it's like 7. And again, don't quote me on that. I don't know the exact numbers, but it's definitely a more drastic difference day to day. So every single day the sun is setting later. And as long as you have good blackout curtains in your house, we have wooden shutters in my house. It's really nice. I hope you guys enjoyed the spring episodes that I posted a couple of weeks ago. I did 2 in a row, a trend report and then resetting your life and your productivity for spring. I hope you enjoyed those and we're all feeling in a very spring mood right now. Only thing I'm not loving is that there might be more daylight, it might be feeling more like spring, but the temperature is not giving spring. So I feel like I'm trying to balance like my winter outfits because I have to be warm and weather appropriate with the spring mood that I'm in. However, the 10-day forecast in Edinburgh is sunlight every single day. And that is rare. The stereotypes are true. It does rain a lot in Scotland. So I don't know. I'm in a good mood. That's what I'm getting at, I guess. I'm in a good mood. I've never been one to moan about the lack of daylight in the winter. But again, that was when I lived in Virginia. There is much less daylight in the UK. And so those first couple days of feeling just pure sunlight on my skin, they have me feeling like a new person. I'm ready. I also fake tan last night. My Botox is starting to kick in because I got Botox for the first time in a while when I was back in the States. My hair came out good today. I like my outfit. I'm feeling really good. Today's topic is all about embracing the single girl mindset, even when you're in a relationship, because you can embrace the single girl mindset whether you're single or taken. Let me explain. To me, the single girl mindset is about prioritizing yourself. It's about retaining your independence. It's about being confident. It's about putting time into your hobbies, investing in yourself, investing in your personal friendships. It's about self-love and self-care. A single mindset is a way of life. It's a way of thinking. It's a mindset. I think that society shows single people so much love, and there's all this messaging about appreciate this time in your life, put yourself first, love yourself, be your own best friend. Like, we hype single people up in that sense. But then when you get into a relationship, especially a long-term relationship, all you're hearing is like, marriage is so hard, relationships take so much sacrifice. And I think it's depressing the way that we talk about long-term relationships. And I'm a firm believer in the idea that you can be in a long-term relationship, you can be totally committed, but you can also have your independence, make yourself a big priority. And yes, relationships take sacrifice, but you don't have to sacrifice all of yourself. That's what this episode is about. It's about embodying this free, confident, single girl mindset, even when you're in a relationship. Either or, this episode is for singles and non-singles. I think the messaging around being in a long-term relationship is so depressing that sometimes it makes me wonder, like, why would anyone want to do this? If you haven't been in a long-term relationship before and you're just listening to all this chatter in media and in popular culture about it, it sounds as we have like ball and chain terminology, like you're giving something up. We talk about bachelorettes as your last night of freedom. We just talk about it in this oppressive way that really doesn't make it sound appealing. And I want to change that narrative. I want to encourage you to keep loving yourself and feeling free while respecting the boundaries of your relationship. Of course, I'm never going to encourage you to do anything that would jeopardize that, but I am going to encourage you and myself to always look out for yourself. At the end of the day, no matter how great your relationship is, you are truly the only person that you can 1,000,000,000,000% depend on, because things happen. And I think you need to have a really good relationship with yourself in order to be a good partner, to have good relationships with other people. If you don't love yourself and respect yourself, you're not going to clock when other people are disrespecting you, and it's just not a good place to be in. The relationship you have with yourself is one of the most important, if not the most important relationship that you'll ever have in your life. Actually, it is the most important relationship you'll ever have in your life. I really believe that. I believe in independence. I believe in being selfish. I made a podcast episode last year, I think, about retaining your independence while in a relationship. If you go on Spotify, if you're a Prologues listener on Spotify, you can go to the homepage of the podcast, scroll up to the top, and there's a search bar, and you can type in keywords and it'll search all the episodes. So if you go in and you search independence, that episode should populate. This is almost a part 2 to that episode. I believe in independence. I believe in being selfish. I believe in not being embarrassed about being selfish. That's a lesson that I have learned in my 20s, I think. Selfish has such a bad connotation as a word, as a concept. I think recognizing that there are areas that maybe you should be selfish in, and it's a good thing to be selfish, is only a positive thing. For example, I know that right now at this point in my life, I'm 26, I'm too selfish to be a parent. I care more about myself, more about my free time, more about my leisure time, more about my hobbies, my career, more about my sleep. Like, I care a lot about myself, too much so to give that time and that energy and attention to a child. I know that right now I'm too selfish to be a parent. Maybe that'll change in the future. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I think it's way healthier for me to recognize that than for me to feel bad about being selfish and try to make myself not be, and to get into a situation that I don't actually want to be in. Being selfish is a good thing in some instances. Selfishness traditionally means a lack of consideration for other people, doing whatever you want, no matter if it hurts other people. And I don't believe in that. When I think about selfishness, to me, that means being really concerned with your own welfare, prioritizing yourself, caring about your comfort, putting effort into your comfort, investing in yourself, taking care of your needs before you take care of other people's needs, setting boundaries and keeping them, not spreading yourself too thin and going crazy trying to take care of other people when you're neglecting yourself. I care about myself more than I do other people. Full stop. I know that's a taboo thing to say. It's true. I care about myself more than I care about other people. This is what I wrote down in my notes. I am more concerned with my own happiness, fulfillment, career, success, hobbies, health, and well-being, etc., than I am about other people's experiences with those things. That does not mean that I care about myself at the expense of other people, or that I think it's okay to pursue my own interests to the detriment of others, but it does mean that I protect myself, my peace, my time, I defend myself to others, I don't tolerate disrespect, I don't keep soul-sucking people in my life, I say no, I set boundaries, and I put myself first. I care deeply about other people and want to see them succeed, but I care even more about myself and making sure that I am happy with the life that I'm living. And I think you can do both. And I know that if there are people pleasers listening to this is probably shocking and you might feel like an aversion to what I'm saying, or this might sound horrible. And that's okay. I'm hoping I can change your mind because, again, we're not caring about ourselves at the expense of others. We're caring about ourselves because we recognize that the relationship we have with ourselves is the most important. And when you invest in yourself, it allows you to be the best version of yourself, which allows you to show up in better, healthier ways for everybody else and for all of your other commitments. So, embracing the single girl mindset when you're in a relationship is all about prioritizing your independence and being confident and taking care of yourself while still respecting what you have with a partner and respecting the relationship, but not allowing a relationship to consume you and suck the life out of you. And again, you can embrace this mindset whether you're single or not. That's the best part. This is for everybody. I made a list. Surprise, surprise. If there's one thing I love, it's a list. So I wrote down all the ways that I feel I practice this in my life and all of the tips and advice that I have for how to do this. As always, this bears repeating every few episodes. When I'm giving advice or I'm giving tips, I'm really just speaking from personal experience. I'm talking about what I do and what works for me. Your life is different than mine, and I don't know your life. So there are things that I could say, advice that I could give that doesn't apply to you or doesn't make sense for your circumstances, and that's okay. I'm not bossing you around. I'm not telling you what to do. But if you're listening to this podcast, presumably it's because you want to hear my take on different things. And so I'm sharing my take. That's it. Number one, your hobbies and your interests are not frivolous, period. Society makes fun of women so much. Women make fun of other women. Why are women policing other women? Why are we hating like men sometimes? Let's not do that, girls. Society polices women and their interests so much. And it starts when you're young. It starts when you're a little girl and people rag on you for liking the color pink. It starts when you're a teenager and you're really into boy bands and all the adults in your life think that that's silly. It carries on to when you're an adult, whether it's loving to read romance novels or making, makeup, skincare, and hair like a genuine hobby and passion of yours. It's just this lifelong battle of having to defend your genuine interests to people who are calling them frivolous. And I think when you get into a long-term relationship, it can be even harder to set aside time for your hobbies and interests because relationships take up time. Like they are a big time commitment. You guys know 2025, year of hobbies, that's going very well for me. And it's just reaffirmed this belief that I have that you can do whatever you want to be happy and get through this fucking nightmare that is life, okay? Times are tough. The world is really scary right now. Things are not great, okay? So whatever you need to do to get through the day, to have something to look forward to romanticize your life, to keep your mental health as high vibrational and as positive as possible, you can do that. Again, never at the expense of other people, but no matter what it is, even if it is something that other people might consider to be silly, it doesn't matter. Is it making you happy? Is it giving you a reason to get up in the morning? Is it keeping you from falling off the brink into the nebulous void of crisis and depression and doom scrolling and terror that's out there right now? Because if so, fantastic. I love that for you. Have you ever heard of a man setting aside his own interests completely just because he's in a relationship? No. You know what you do hear about? You hear girlfriends and wives talk about how their husbands are always at golf or always playing video games or always out with the boys. I think it can be hard to respect your partner's devotion to their hobbies, respect the 8 hours they spend at the golf course or whatever, when you subconsciously feel a little bit jealous because they're prioritizing themselves and you're not. It's so much easier to deal with your partner setting aside time for themselves when you are also setting aside time for yourself. But we give men that allowance that we don't give to ourselves. Let's not do that, okay? Let's not do that. Single girls don't do that. I understand that various commitments in life, whether that be a demanding job, taking care of a family member, having children, can really cut into your time. But I would encourage you in any way that you are able, set aside time for yourself, no matter what that looks like to you. It'll help you feel more like a whole person. That's a big thing here. When you get into a relationship, it can be easy to be swept away and to start thinking of yourself as a we instead of an I, and to always think about yourself in conjunction with a partner, no matter what. And I'm not just talking about straight relationships here. I know I'm using a lot of heteronormative language just because I'm in a straight relationship, but I mean this across the board. No matter who you're with, it can be easy to be swept away. It can be easy to sacrifice this sense of self that you have, but that's not sustainable. And you'll get to a point where you don't feel like a whole person. Setting aside time for your pursuits helps you feel well rounded. It helps you feel like you haven't lost touch with yourself. So I think that's a really big one. I'm talking with my hands so much during this episode. Have you noticed that? You probably have. If you're watching a video, I'm just like all over the place. Another thing would be devoting time to your personal friendships. It's nice to have your couple's friends, but it's even nicer to have your friends. And what we don't want to do is be the type of girl that gets into a relationship and then you just ditch your friends completely. One thing that I pride myself on, I really pride myself on this, is that I have gotten complimented many times in my life about the way that I have prioritized my female friendships, even though I'm in a long-term relationship. I've heard this from multiple friends and I've heard it at multiple different points because I just feel like my relationship is fantastic, but the female friends that I have provide me with this like feeling of being known and seen and understood that is special and unique to female friendships. I'm married to a man, so as understanding and empathetic and as feminist as he can be, there's still a level of understanding about the female experience that he'll never have ever. If I didn't have girls to talk to like vent to complain to sympathize with, to just giggle with, I would not feel as supported and just fulfilled as I do. I can't get that exact experience from a man. And let's say you're not with a man, there's still like levels to relationships. And I think pursuing your own friends, no matter who they are or what gender they are, it's just something that helps you maintain a boundary around your sense of being, if that makes sense. Your friends, especially friends that you've had, prior to the relationship that you're in, or maybe lifelong friends, will always have a different perspective of you and a different understanding of you than a romantic partner will. No matter what. I think it's totally fair to say that your partner is your best friend. Long-term relationships, they're so intimate, you're so vulnerable. It is a completely unique relationship structure to anything else. But the friends that you've had when you're single, the friends that have known you for longer than your relationship will help keep you grounded. And you also just don't want to be a dick. Like ditching your friends when you get a partner is a dick move. I think it's normal to get into a relationship and to have that like initial burst of excitement and the butterflies and the honeymoon stage, and you're spending more time with them because you're getting to know them. I think that's fine. And like I always think when one of my friends gets into a relationship, I don't get offended when the first couple of months or whatever, they're more focused on their partner because they're trying to build the foundation for a healthy relationship. That makes sense. But I don't believe it's okay to ditch or ghost or, not be able to show up to girls' night without bringing your partner, to always be asking, like, can my partner come? There's a time and place. There is a time and place for that, but it's so important to have your own friends. Again, have you ever heard of a man giving up his own friends? No, men are so good at putting themselves first because society tells them every day of their life that they're special and they're worth it. You have to tell yourself that. We also need to talk about boundaries. These are hard in long-term relationships because you blend so many areas of your life together that the lines between what's okay and what's not okay and what you're comfortable with, like if you're not careful, they can become blurred. Also, if you happen to be with a partner who isn't great, maybe they're toxic or they don't respect your boundaries, it's like easy to become gaslighted into giving up your boundaries because you just were like, well, like I'm in love with this person, we're together, like relationships are about sacrifice, like maybe I'm being unreasonable. No, you're not. You're allowed to have boundaries. No matter how much you love another person, they are never allowed to take over your life, and you are allowed to maintain your personhood and your identity and your individuality. And if you're with someone who doesn't respect your boundaries, that's not a good sign. Like, that's a red flag. This applies to all areas: sexual boundaries, financial boundaries, maybe boundaries around family. I think we have this idea that you get into a relationship and you give up all of yourself because we have this, the messaging is like you're all in, you're fully committed, you're like totally blending your life with a person. And I completely get that sentiment. I just want to caution against, being all in to the point that you lose yourself. That will make you unhappy, I promise. So take a good long look at what you want, what you're comfortable with, and please tell yourself that it's okay to stick to that. It's okay to stick to your guns. This one is potentially controversial. Every couple approaches this differently, and whatever works for you is fine. For me, embracing the single girl mindset and maintaining my independence involves financial independence. I do not believe in combining finances, or at least not completely combining finances. I do believe in always maintaining financial independence for a few reasons. And again, this is controversial. A lot of people don't do this. You do whatever you need to do. For me, my mom drilled in my head when I was younger that you always have to have the means to leave and to take care of yourself. None of us want to believe that the person we're in a relationship with is going to, turn on us, or the relationship is going to go sour, or you're going to end up separating, etc., etc. But the truth is, there's no way of knowing that 1,000,000%. Things happen. Things happen. You don't want to believe they're going to happen, but things happen. You don't want to find yourself in a situation where the relationship is not going the way you thought it would, and you don't have the means to leave. Women are so often trapped in abusive situations, toxic situations, because they don't have the means to leave. So I believe in always having a separate account full of your money, keeping, an emergency fund, a rainy day fund, so that you can take care of yourself should the need arise. I also don't believe in completely combining finances because, people handle money differently. Financial troubles are one of the leading causes of divorce. We all grew up with different mindsets around money, with different levels of financial literacy. People have, varying levels of debt, different credit scores, just different mindsets. You have your savers, you have your spenders, you have your budgeters, you have your never heard of a budget in their lifers. There's just different ways that we approach it. And one, I think it's really important to have that conversation before you get married or before you commit to a long-term relationship. But two, again, you don't want to think that one day your partner is going to develop a gambling addiction. You don't want to think that they could make an irresponsible financial decision and tank your credit. You don't want to think that. But again, you just don't know. We just don't know. And so I think it's always important to have your lines of credit, your own credit score, your own financial identity. It's just a safeguard. And also, I love not having to consult my partner if I want to make a purchase. If we had completely combined finances, that money would be our money, not my money. So I would obviously have to consult with my partner before making a big purchase or splurging on something or whatever. I like that I don't have to do that. I like that I have my own money and it doesn't matter what I want to spend it on because it's mine. There are things that we contribute to together. We obviously both contribute to the household bills, the rent. We have a joint savings for our future because we're saving for a house. Transparently, I make more money than my husband by a lot because content creation is, I'm very grateful for it. It's a lucrative career. So I contribute more. We figured out the percentage of these things that works for us. And we're both happy with the arrangement, but we have shared savings to share for a house. Then we each have our own accounts with our own pools of money. I also have separate accounts for my business because I have business expenses and, a different income for that. And so I feel grateful that my parents did teach me some financial literacy growing up. I also think I had to learn a ton as an adult because there were a lot of things I didn't know about credit, a lot of things I didn't know about budgeting, but I did grow up learning how to save, which I am very appreciative of. I got my first job when I was 13 and I've been working ever since. And for most of my life, I've had multiple jobs at one time. How old am I? 26. So I've been working for 13 years. I would say for probably 9 of those years, I've had 2 to 3 jobs at one time. It's actually like only in recent years where I've been doing influencing that I've had one job at one time, but even this feels like multiple things because there's so many different streams of revenue when you're in content creation, and there's like you have your hands in a lot of different pies. But I do count this as one job. But yeah, for most of my life I had multiple, and my parents were very strict about saving. When I turned 13, my parents sat me down and they were like, okay, time to get a job, because if you want a car when you're 16, when you learn to drive, you need to buy that. So if you want that, start saving now. And I did. I saved for 3 years. My first car was like a 1998 Toyota Corolla that was beat up, but that was my baby. I named it Major Tom. It had a horrible like chipping paint. The upholstery was coming apart. The lining of the roof of the car was like coming down. Like she was not in good shape, okay? I think it was $1,800. But I was 16. It was my first car. I just gotten my license. Like that vehicle was everything to me. And then I totaled it by crashing into a semi truck when I was 18, which is the reason I have driving anxiety. Um, but I worked really hard for that car and I saved really hard as a teenager. So I have always grown up with this mindset of saving. I had to learn more about budgeting and about credit, especially as an adult. But that was a big priority to me because I care about money. I'm a Leo. Leos care about money. That's like one of our defining traits. You know that TikTok audio that's viral right now, which is like, I just don't think at this age I'm meant to live an uncomfortable life. That is me to a T. Again, I don't know if it's the Leo thing or a personality thing. I like nice things. I like being comfortable. I like small luxuries. I like big luxuries. I like looking at my savings account. I check my savings account once a day. I have stocks and investments. I check those all the time. Don't talk to me about how the stock market is doing this week. If you know, you know. But I check them all the time. I like money. I care about money. And so for me, it's just not ever going to happen. Like I'm never going to combine my finances with another person completely, because that money to me, my own money, represents freedom, represents independence, represents autonomy and confidence. It gives me immense peace of mind to know that no matter what, I will be able to take care of myself. And again, I understand this is different for everyone, and not everyone is in that position or wants that. Some people just don't want that. I'm not judging you. You have to decide what's best for you. But if you're asking me for my advice, that is something that's important to me. Okay, what else? I think it's really important to celebrate yourself. I suck at this. I'm getting better, but I've talked about this many times. I kind of suck at celebrating myself and my accomplishments. I saw a quote once that said, I don't feel proud of my accomplishments because in my mind it was my obligation to achieve them. Ouch. Ouch, that hurt. I kind of feel that way about myself. I think I've always had really high expectations for myself, and I've always dreamed big, and I've always known that I could do something big. So when I do big things, I'm like, that's just kind of bare minimum, because I knew I could do that. Like, I knew that I could do something big. So then I do something big, and I'm like, well, that's just like par for the course. I don't know, which is a deranged mindset to have. Like, don't have that mindset. Celebrate yourself. But that's the way that I kind of think about it. I don't know why. There's probably loads we could unpack there. Definitely need to talk about this more with my therapist, but that's how I feel. But you need to celebrate your wins. I think this is especially true when you are actually single. There's so many celebrations that we allow for married couples. Like, say you get married, you have an engagement party, a wedding shower, the wedding. Let's say you have a child and you have a baby shower or things like that. I think that's important to celebrate those things. I think it's also really important to celebrate graduating, a new job, a promotion, moving into a new apartment, things like that. Maybe, I don't know, running a marathon or something that you're doing for yourself, by yourself. Whether you're single or in a relationship, taking the time to celebrate your accomplishments, so I hear, will give you a greater sense of purpose and a greater sense of fulfillment. Again, I'm not good at this, but I think it is important. I also think it's important to focus on your personal growth, so your personal development. As you guys know, I'm doing the Road to 27 series, and I have personal development goals, and I'm excited because I'm, really locking in and trying to improve my life and have like a total life glow up in the next couple of months. And when we get so consumed with the day-to-day, like mundane parts of life, it can be hard to think long-term and think about the person that you want to evolve into. So setting aside the time for me to journal and to write down what's actually important to me and what I'd like to see myself become one day has been it's given me a lot of clarity, and it's been almost a healing exercise. And again, it's all about this sense of individuality. It's all about investing into yourself. It kind of goes along with, making time for your interests because they're not frivolous. Making time for yourself and your growth isn't a waste of time. It might seem like there's a million other more important things to do, but there isn't. Like, again, the relationship you have with yourself is most important. You're stuck with yourself forever, okay? You're the only person on this earth that you will be stuck with for the rest of time. So, why not put in the effort to make sure that you're your own best companion, that you're fun to be around, that you feel happy with yourself? Personal development can look like a lot of things. It could look like learning a new skill. It can look like going to therapy and working on your emotional regulation and healing your trauma. It can look like going to the gym and like starting a fitness journey. It can look like, I don't know, listening to TED Talks and podcasts and reading and trying to learn a lot about a specific subject. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it's going to conferences or getting certifications or doing something like that. It doesn't really matter what it is because you can decide for yourself what it is, but it's important. I promise you, it's important. And then the last thing I have is spending time by yourself. Granted, I'm an introvert, so I'm coming at this with that perspective, with a bit of a bias, shall we say. But I think that the only way to truly embody confidence, to build trust with yourself, and to feel comfortable with yourself is to be alone sometimes. When you're alone and you're not around the noise of the world or the noise of another person, that's when your head clears enough to give you the space to think deeply about your own life. When you have no distractions, clarifying thoughts come, inspiration strikes, you can get a wave of creativity, you can just have realizations about yourself and about your life, like therapy breakthroughs will happen. There's just so much good, I think, with learning to be completely comfortable being alone. Because again, all you really have is yourself at the end of the day. And you want to be your own best company. If you're lonely when you're alone, then you're in bad company. So that's my last one. Those are all of my tips for embracing the single girl mindset. Whether you're single or whether you're taken, you can always invest in yourself and put yourself first. This is how I approach this in my daily life, and I hope this gave you some inspiration or encouraged you to start prioritizing yourself more. There's that quote from Grey's Anatomy. I think it's Christina telling Meredith, like, he's great, but he's not the son, you are. That's what I'm telling you right now. Your partner is not the center of the universe. You are the center of your own universe. Your life literally revolves around you. You are literally the main character. So make it good. Make it a good story. Make it a good life. Make yourself a good person, or try to. I think that's all we can do is just try. Okay. That's all I have for today. I hope that you enjoyed. I never know how to end these things. Bye.